Good morning. It's currently 3:18 a.m. November 23, 2024, and I want to start by going back and doing a little summary video for the last 2 weeks just because I have been recording some stuff, but because of health reasons I was not really able, and I just got out of the regular routine of making something. So I want to go back. I don't really like having gaps places, so I want to go back, fill in the gap. Um, and then starting today, I just want to go full force doing all of the stuff I want to do. The problem is that I want to do too much stuff, and then I get overwhelmed about all the stuff that I'm not getting done because I have all the stuff I want to do. But I'm just gonna start being a little bit more like just kind of talking about, hey, I'm working on this now. It's not working out. I was sort of doing that before, but it was always a little bit more polished and or attempted polishedness and I guess I just want to be a little bit more real about because obviously we're all humans. Like at the end of the day, no one really knows a whole lot. We still live in a pretty rough world. Sure, I could act like I'm all cool, obviously, which is what most people do, and maybe that's better. But I'd rather just be real, and I think some people might appreciate that. So, if you do, then join me. If not, don't worry about it, but thank you so much. So as far as doing the video, that basically just means I need to open DaVinci Resolve, pull together a lot of the phone videos, and then a lot of the other Osmo Pocket 3 videos. I think I'm just going to make a YouTube short, like a really short one, and because there wasn't a whole lot to say. Other than that, I was more of a um, moment where I'm just maintaining, surviving, sort of, not doing anything extra as much besides the typical overachieving. I just finished editing and uploading. Actually, I do need to upload to TikTok and Instagram as well. I just remembered that. But basically, I just threw together the last, like, those 15 days where I wasn't uploading anything. And it's not the greatest video. There's no real insight that people are going to gain much of anything. But again, mainly for the purpose of not having a gap in the fluidity. But one cool thing is that it let me upload it as a YouTube short, even though it's 2 minutes and 57 seconds. So it's finally allowing you to do the 3-minute shorts. So I've had a lot of ideas of really insightful, enlightened content that I could create in 3 minutes. And so now that that's finally out there, I might do some recording of those today, if I feel like it. I want to be careful of what I actually feel like doing rather than forcing myself to do things that I thought in the past were decent ideas. Alright, so I'm going to go for a run. I'm not going to force myself to do 15 miles. That's what I was doing for a long time every Saturday morning. I think I'll just go for what feels good. It is 34 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's a little bit cold. So I'll just go for a good while and see how I feel. Maybe listen to a book, maybe a little bit of music, enjoy the sunrise. All right. All right. So I finished my run. Ended up being able to do 4.5 miles in a little under 8 minutes a mile, which is pretty good for not running for a while. But I got something in my head that I want to think about. That just because it's like something cool that I just want to think through. So basically, the idea is that I kind of I've been feeling a little bit lately, like sometimes you can feel more strongly or not strongly. And it totally depends. Just let me get this recorded. Let me record this into Notion. Just something I want to think through a little bit. Let's see. Let's put this in here. I could almost put this in my qualities and like abilities related, or intelligence, human behavior. I think I'll go in human behavior. Let's see, does this work? I think it's gonna work. Thinking through working with people that do not have the ability to really contribute their fair share. So I've basically been thinking about recently, and it's been coming in my mind, and I'm not exactly sure if everyone thinks this or if it's only certain types of people that might be type A or type B. More than likely in this case type A, that would be thinking about how when they contribute to projects, how they want to get it done on time, they want to do it well, and then they work with people who don't have those same qualities, skills, abilities, or drive, which results in whatever it is going over time, not being done correctly, and it's sort of a lose situation for everyone. And often happens when you're in situations where you're working with those types of people, in a school or work situation, and for that reason, it can be frustrating because you're in that situation and you have to make it work. And so, because of that, it, it's partially why there's not a good solution, because the other people don't really have a reason to do really well because you're going to make up for them or whatnot. Like, it's still a tough situation. I certainly do not think that I am any better than most people. And I'm sure there are people that would think these types of things about me, that I'm not as motivated or something. I think in general I tend to be more on the motivated side in general. Okay, that cut off there for a second. The epitome of motivation, but I think in general I'm fairly motivated. And so this results in an issue where but there's a couple things I want to think about here. Is one is I always believe that people can change. Like, if you're reading a book and there's the antagonist, the person that's really causing a lot of troubles, and you're thinking like, this whole problem would be resolved if that enemy, if that antagonist would just stop, would just change a little bit, would recognize that they are the problem, would deal with whatever trauma that they've been dealing with or whatever. And that's what I believe about the other people, that they can change. They can become the motivated people who get stuff done on time and who do not really drag others down and require others to make up for them. I think that's sort of empathy to some extent, is that you're looking to think about how to help people change rather than just being like, they can never change, they will always be that way. I will just need to avoid those types of people. I think in general, if you cannot do much about it, avoidance is a strategy if you have that ability. And so ways you could do that is to work places where you're inherently with other people that operate the same way. Like if you're in a college project and you're working with a group of people where every person in the group wants to do their best, wants to get the project done on time, wants to do really well, then really great things happen because it's a synergy. But when you're sort of there making up for other people, it creates this situation where it's just not ideal at all. And you don't want to criticize other people. You don't want to say that they're not ideal in the way they're working, their workflow is. But at the same time, you have to be able to at some point resolve that situation or it will continue to pull you down. Especially in situations where you can't change other people, because it's not really that way. So that's sort of like related to like a work or school situation. But what about like societal level? When we're thinking about something like making the world the best place possible, you will have a percentage of people that will just do their best to make the world the best place possible. And then you will have a large percentage of people who will just be along for the ride, even if it's basically like you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. It's like some people will still not be into becoming the best version of themselves. And it's like, I think it's, I, I think one should not assume that it's impossible to make the world the best place possible and to help everyone become the best version of themselves. I think one should assume that it's not good to assume that, which is obviously an assumption. But I think it's reasonable because if you assume the other way, then there's no point in even trying, which would, because by default, if you do not try, you will not see any outcome. Which is where I think there is hope, but I do think in sort of the meantime, I do need to prioritize and be in situations where I'm not in that sort of shadow and where I'm able to succeed in synergy with other people that want to exceed, that want to succeed. I don't know if there are different ways of thinking about this. It's a little bit of stoicism or whatnot, where you are thinking about what's in and outside of your control. What's in your control is what you can do. What's outside of your control is what other people do. But when you're in situations where the outcome is a result of what you do and what other people do, and that outcome is a little bit of a reflection of what you're able to do, that's where the difficulty comes into place. And especially if, say, you're in a situation where people cannot see that, um, for whatever reason, they do not have the ability to see that you are in the shadow type of situation. Um, and it could even be that the the person that you would want to see themselves is actually creating the shadow. Um, so I do think there's hope. I do think that I'm not an expert at this, and there's probably some other things I should be thinking about. Those are sort of, I wanted to get that out of my head because it was bothering me a little bit, and it's better to just talk it out than to let it bother me. Alright, so there's another thing I kind of want to think through a little bit, which is the idea of monetary funds. Basically, this idea that I don't really love the component of like, you need to have a bunch of money to survive. You need to invest in some sort of something so that you can make money. You need to work so that you can make money. So I just want to think about that a little bit. Let me get going. So I've talked about this before. The idea that I don't love the whole thing of monetary funds. Basically, there's a couple different levels. I don't like the idea of investing where the investment is for the purpose of making money rather than for the purpose of bettering the world and everyone's lives. Like, a lot of people just invest in the stock market, not because they care about any particular business, but because of whether or not that business is going to return their investment for them and make them money passively, essentially. Just give them money because they loaned them money or whatever. There's another level, which is that I could definitely go after money, but most of the time, making money is actually a detriment to people. Like, most people that are like, oh, I want to become a millionaire, I want to become a billionaire, I want to accomplish this or do that. It's not because they care about people. It's because they think that they should make a bunch of money and they think that they deserve the money, or that they tell themselves that they shouldn't question their internal desires. But like, I I I say things like, if you go to the store and buy an apple, like, you really don't want to pay for the apple. No one actually wants to pay for the apple. If there was a nice apple there, they would just like to eat it. Um, like, people, but the apple farmer will say, "Oh, but like, I'm doing the world a service." And yeah, I understand that's how funds work. The farmer has to be able to make money to be able to bring that apple to the store and everything. But in an ultimate reality, you really actually do not want to pay for that apple. Like, um, it's not that you need it for free. It's just that, like, actually paying money for that apple isn't actually ideal. Um, Another aspect is, like, whether or not you should. Yeah, I talked about investing, like investing in Bitcoin or something like that. Is like, okay, but where is the money coming from as that monetary system gains value? Like, where is it actually coming from? And although I don't understand everything, it's basically because people are transferring monetary value, or like value, into that currency, and so that currency gains value, which then your holding of that currency gains value. But what value is actually being created? Like, that's what matters. Like, what's the point of getting a bunch of monetary value in one's life? Like, actually, the it is what you do with that ultimately that means anything at all. Truly, I think. So that's where it's like, well, what if you can't do the things that you truly want to do because you don't have enough monetary funds? Well, that is the issue. The issue is not that you need to get monetary funds. The issue is that the system is set up so that you have to, in order to do great, amazing things, you need monetary funds. Now, I think all of that will go away. As soon as we have an abundance system with AI, where everyone has everything that they need, and people are just innovating and doing cool stuff all the time, you're not, I don't think you're really going to need a big monetary system like we have now, like the whole money system. Um, I guess all of this is good. It definitely means that I do not have the love of money, because I sort of inherently have this dislike, because another component is that right now you have to work something, do something just to make money to be able to live. And that's where it's like just not ideal. You would rather not have to work in order to survive. I'm not saying it just sounds a little bit selfish to be like, oh, I don't want to have to work to live. Meanwhile, there are people that wish they could work to live. But I think in an ultimate world, you wouldn't want to have to force someone to make a living in order to like make a living in the sense of make enough money to survive. You'd want them to be able to survive and thrive regardless of whether they have monetary value, which would then eliminate people having to not do jobs that they really don't want to do. Which is the case for most people are working jobs. Like if you ask them at the end of their workday, would you rather have done this or spent time with your family today? Done this or went on an adventure exercising or painting or doing your favorite hobby? They would probably say doing their favorite hobby. Now, maybe their favorite hobby is the work, and if that's the case, that's great. But often rare, and often even like, is it actually adding any value to the world? Is that thing that you're doing that's making money actually ideal? So, I've definitely thought through this before. Like, I think I thought through it a lot when I did a little thing about what should life cost. Like, in my opinion, life should cost nothing to live. Like, you shouldn't have to work to live. Um, and then, yeah, specifically related to monetary value, like, you shouldn't have to make a bunch of money, which often is a result of taking advantage of people in some way. So, like, whether you think about it in the sense that, like, a business might be solving some problem, and so they have all these employees, and the employees have jobs and whatnot. But then the business makes a bunch of value. So, is that just fine? Well, first of all, the people that paid for that probably wouldn't have wanted to pay for that. It's only really society, the society that they're in, telling them that they should buy those things. Um, that is part of the issue. I'm not saying people don't want to buy and that there aren't good businesses. I always have the critique that in most capitalistic businesses, the entrepreneurs or whatever really don't care about the world. They really just care about themselves. And I think that's what bothers me so much about the current monetary system, is that it's set up mostly for people to care about themselves. And so it's like a survival situation where we live in a world where it would not have to be. Like literally, if we just took our current technology and everyone just like did their part, I really don't think we would need to live in this current situation. So those are my thoughts. So I just did those thoughts, and I'm gonna give them to ChatGPT. Not because ChatGPT is the uh, sage of all wisdom, but because it's pretty knowledgeable about stuff, so it can bring up points. I'm not saying it's going to be holistic or truly valuable, but it can break down my own thoughts so that I can think about them more, basically. So it broke it down into the ethics of investing in passive income, the cost of living and injustice of survival work, the true value of money, um, the problem with capitalism's motivation, the dream of an abundant system, critiques of selfish motives, your vision for the future. Um, yeah. So, mostly just to get it out of my head again. There's not a whole lot I can do about it other than recognize that there's going to be that urge to want to make a bunch of money or to want to be financially free. But financial freedom shouldn't even be a thing. You should automatically, like, you shouldn't need to be financially free. It should be a thing which you do not have to be freed from, in my opinion. All right, I just had a lovely nap. You're probably wondering what's the point of waking up early if you're going to take a nap. Well, I don't as much. Well, first of all, when you do a big output exercise, like for me, the 4.5 miles, I think I averaged to like 180 beats per minute just because I was so, just because I hadn't run in a while. So that's a big output. And then I haven't been waking up as early because I've been getting a little bit out of the typical flow. So I'd rather just wake up early, not transition over a period of time to waking up at earlier. Just wake up earlier. When I need to take a nap, that's fine. And at the end of the day, I think I'm still more net productive because sometimes you can take a nap even if you don't wake up early, and plus it's a weekend day, so getting that refuel of sleep probably isn't that bad of an idea. So I should probably eat something, but then there's these layers of 100, like so many different things that I want to do, really, that I want to do, that I need to do, and it's like, um, I guess I'll just do a mix of both so that I don't get too bored or too overwhelmed. All right, thank you. All right, I just spent the rest of the morning here to almost noon cre- using Suno AI to create music. Um, just because I find it interesting. Um, I don't necessarily have a spectacular voice, so I ended up using just the AI generated voice as well. But the lyrics and stuff are just related to those thoughts I was having about monetary value. So it sort of makes sense as a song, it sort of doesn't. If you pay attention and you know what I was talking about, you would know. But either way, I was just like, yeah, I'll create it for fun, basically. It's like mostly for fun, although it has like a teeny bit of possible value. So we'll see. All right, so I've been trying to decide what to do this afternoon again because there's so much I need to do. There's so much I want to do. It's one of those standstill moments. So I've decided I'm just gonna do one of the big things that I've been putting off for a while, which has been finishing up my tracking. So I've tracked every 15 minutes for a year, and I'm still doing that. So I have like the last month and a half, 2 months of that year that I need to finish. So I'm gonna try to get that done. It'll probably take at least 2 hours. So we'll get started with that. This is a little AI generated background soundtrack. Um, just cool that AI can even create this. You can imagine how much cooler it will eventually become. So, cool stuff. Alright, so we managed to get through a couple weeks worth of tracking, but I still have another like 3 months essentially worth of tracking to go, so I'm just gonna spread it out for the next couple days because there's no way I'm gonna be able to sit through and do this. Anyway, so I've been going through other stuff on my list and kind of organizing when I'm actually going to be able to do it. Because with the holiday weekend coming up, I should have plenty of time, theoretically, to get some of this stuff done. So I've just been going through planning, organizing. Oftentimes, planning can seem like it's useless because you're not actually getting a ton done. But that's actually just the 10% of planning can really increase the productivity of the other percent of time that you actually spend doing the thing. So with that said, I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do next, but we'll see. Alright, so I ended up being able to work through some emails and then some. So I took a journal twice a day, every day for the year as well. So I logged all of those up to the up to 2 days ago. So that's all logged. So at least I'm getting some stuff done. Um, yeah, I do feel like there's just so much I'd like to get going, but I'm not like totally overwhelmed. I know that there will always be lots of stuff to do. So it's really, can you do the most important things at any given time? But there's a little bit of me that's like, I need to finish some stuff so that that can be out of my head so that I can move on to the next stuff. I could just let that stuff go, like not finish the tracking, but I feel like I would rather try to finish it. So I might grab some supper and then try to get to sleep on time so I can get up early tomorrow.